Welcome to Flipping Houses for Rookies, the only podcast that shows you how to take back your financial freedom and live the American dream by becoming a real estate investor. Without the banks, without the big wigs, and without the realtor's nonsense. This isn't about selling you coaching or some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about opening your eyes to the possibilities so you can make real chunks of dough, buy your life back, and become a free American. With over 400 episodes aired, we're delivering everything you need to know to find deals, talk to sellers, structure deals, and win big. It's time to take action, change your mindset, and claim what's yours. Real estate is the key to your freedom, and we're here to show you the way. Subscribe now and catch our latest episodes on YouTube at Flipping Houses for Rookies, because your financial freedom starts today. Now, here are your hosts, Bill and Pete.
All right, here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Hello, Bill, and morning and evening and everything to all of yous. That's plural for you. All of yous.
Okay. All right, we're getting ready to record podcast number 453, and the title of this podcast is Creative Real Estate: Psychology versus Money Offers.
Wow.
This will not be a popular podcast. It's not exactly like the best title, but it will be one of the ones that will blow you away when making offers. So much so that I actually am seriously thinking about writing a book on this topic.
Wow.
All right, here is the description. Here's the cold, hard truth. If you're still trying to win deals by offering more money and trying to bribe the seller into a deal, you're playing a game that is rigged against you from the start. The top 1% of real estate entrepreneurs never compete on price. Instead, they know there are 3 different ways to present an offer to sellers, and this framework practically forces sellers to see the value behind the almighty dollar. Or should I say the almighty dollar? Here's what no one else is telling you. The difference between rejected offers and life-changing deals has nothing to do with your bank account or someone else's bank account. It has everything to do with triggering the right psychological response at the right time. While others are pushing the money equals more deals myth, you'll discover why deal psychology trumps getting deals where the seller turns into your number one fan on getting the deal done. Today's wisdom comes from 30 plus years of giving thousands and thousands of offers, solving the wrong problems, and result in failed acquisitions. So stop getting rejected and listen up now so I can help you with this.
Boy, that sounds like learning from rejection or learning from losses.
Yeah. All right, so let's do our housekeeping type thing. We're going to keep that pretty short. I have fired off my new newsletter. My new newsletter is called Creative Real Estate newsletter, Dealology. It's about deals and deal structuring. The first dozen or so newsletters are fired off with the theory, and then after that, it is about deal structuring. So I don't know of another newsletter on the market like it. So if you want to get quick tips every week on a Saturday morning about how to structure creative real estate and not have to go through all of the training and videos and books, just get the, as we call, the footnotes or the highlights, the newsletter is a great place to do it. So that newsletter link is inside of the description I just read you, or you could just go to creative real estate newsletter dealology.com/subscribe, or you can go to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com and I will send you the link. In any event, make sure you like us and make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us so you know that when we're on air. We record every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to join the podcast, we live stream on YouTube in two places. One is Creative REI Reply, which is the software we use that is a done-for-you software, which we just exploded the market with new technology where we're actually making phone calls for you and getting deals for you. And there's no other software that's doing that. Plus, you could go to Flipping Houses for Rookies on YouTube and find us there. You could go to Facebook or LinkedIn, and you can find us there. If you want to add to the podcast, you could just type in wherever that platform allows you to type. We will answer your questions. If it's not related to the podcast, then I will ask you to go to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com and send your questions there, and I will respond. Did you get that, Peter?
You will respond.
No VA, no virtual assistant.
No, it's true. You're there.
I do them myself. For all three of my coaching groups, I do most of the coaching, most of the responses.
Mm-hmm.
Creative REI Reply, I got the tech guys have all the geek shit going on, but I definitely handle all the deals. All right, Pete. Today, I'm going to start off with yet another new term.
Really?
Yep.
Now what do you
Matter
got?
of fact, I wrote on my battle plan. I need to make a new document with all the terms, and I need to actually make my own new little glossary or dictionary because there's been so many of them lately.
Mm-hmm.
But you heard me talk about it in the description. It's called deal psychology.
Yeah.
Deal psychology. Now, usually when you think of psychology, you think of it's a person's mind, right?
Yeah.
Right? So it's the way somebody thinks and their philosophy in life and all that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
But this is deal psychology. So in other words, the deal itself has its own mind. It's got its own way to think if you do it correctly. Right? So let me give you a definition of what I call a deal psychology.
Sure.
Okay? So it's a scientific approach and methods. So it's a scientific and a method approach, such as observation, awareness, and experimentation, mixed in with an analysis that investigates a seller's motivation and behavior so you can help them. A lot of words there, huh?
No, but if anybody's been tracking with you, and I've been tracking with you, every bit of that made sense.
Yep,
So,
I wrote it once.
Yeah, there's
It came out of my head. I didn't have to rewrite it. It just came out.
But watch this. I duplicated most of it. There's observation.
Yeah.
But then there's awareness.
Yeah.
Then with the awareness, there's an analysis of what might be going on.
Well, experimentation first. What do you think of this? And what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's right. That part. 'Cause I've seen you do that. Well, what if we did this? Yeah, which means you don't have to have the answer. You go like, do you want steak? No. Do you want barbecue chicken? Right. Do you want Cheerios? No. Waffles. Okay. What kind of waffles? And how would you like? Yeah, so, it actually gets you there. So it made sense.
This reminds me of being on the beach down in Thornton Brook Lake down there. It's a state park down by my house. It's got a small pond in it where we go fishing. And he's asking me, Grandpa, let's use this for the bait because it looks pretty. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. How come, Grandpa? Well, because that's for bass. We're fishing for trout. No, I want to use this, Grandpa. Because he likes the bait. He likes the color of the bait, right?
He must be a bass.
And then we do it, and 5 minutes later he's bored because the fish isn't biting, and we have to start all over again. This is how most of our rookies deal with sellers.
That's funny. It's unfortunately true, though, huh?
So here's a definition. This is a definition of deal psychology, a scientific approach and methods such as observation, awareness, and experimentation mixed with an analysis that investigates a seller's motivation and behavior so you can help them. It's not to get a deal. What gets the deal? Helping them.
Yeah. I've actually said that to people. Look, if I can't help you, no deal's going to happen. I'm trying to figure out how to help you. Help me. Right. Like, what do you need? I'm trying to help you. They go, oh. And it really makes a difference. You don't have to say it to them like that, but sometimes I just throw it out there at the right time. But it's true.
And if done correctly, it examines how a seller thinks, feels, and behaves in this house selling process. There's a word called extrapolation. Extrapolation means that you are familiar with the past and what has happened in the past, and you're using that data to predict the future. Right?
Yeah, you're pulling data from everything you've experienced. You're pulling solutions or answers. You're pulling it out so you can see what's going on to make a decision. It's pulling.
So you'll soon realize in the next 60 minutes during this episode, finance or giving seller offers is overwhelmingly taught as a math-based formula. When you put no numbers into this formula and out pops an offer, it's not the winning strategy. Yet so many study it, and so many want to know it, and so many think that's the gift of creative real estate.
Yep.
And when the seller rejects this or these offers, we get offended. And we say the seller's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you got to blame somebody. Why blame yourself? when you can blame somebody else, whoever's nearby.
Exactly. And this is not a bad thing or even a wrong thing, because realize real estate's been around for thousands of years, right? Until you start wanting to scale to 3 to 5 deals or more per month with healthy, wealthy, and consistent income. So using the math-based formulas that are impersonal, right, works until you start trying to do 3 to 5 deals a month. Unless you're a wholesaler and you want to have 10 VAs calling 10,000. Literally, I've had coaching clients that have 8 or 10 virtual assistants calling 10,000, 12,000 names a month, so they can get it down to 4 or 5 deals a month. Right?
Yeah.
Truth be told, which by the way, they're now no longer in the real estate business. They're running the company, not the real estate. Right? So I pride myself in I'm a one-man show for the most part. I mean, I do a lot of outsourcing, but I have a lot of clients that are just one-man shows. They don't need a lot of people. They're not managing a company. They're managing their assets.
Yeah.
That's the company. Right? Truth be told, everyone has their own experience with how the world works.
Sure.
Right? And what each individual has experienced is more compelling than what someone else can offer secondhand.
Sure. You've lived through it. It's pretty real.
Right. So if I tell you that you can't go north on that road, and you've been north on that road, my secondhand information is going to be null. It's not going to mean anything.
Not pretty useless. I mean, your own observation, hopefully, is better than anything,
Right. So this is why I say creative real estate is made to do, not learn.
Mm-hmm.
Only because some lessons have to be experienced before they can be understood. To me, that's the most valuable sentence in this whole podcast.
Yeah.
Real estate is made to do, not to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I just wrote a whole book on that. Right? I just published it this week on Amazon.
Yep.
Right? If you want to see my books, just go to Amazon and type in William Hawthorne without an E, Hawthorn, and it's my 7th book. So just go to Amazon, type in William Hawthorne, and you will find it. Right? It's Leads, Deals, Cash. Right? You remember the rest of the title?
Well, I remember the part. Well, there's like a little sentence, but the operator's manual. I like that part because it is. I was reading it this morning. What you just said. I just read what you just said.
The Creative Real Estate Operator's Manual.
Yeah.
So this drops us at the front doorstep of any seller's risk tolerance will only go as far as and only depends on their personal history. Right? So that means if we're talking to a seller and we're just giving them a mathematical formula, maybe they did really bad in math and they're not good at math.
No, I've had people like, oh, I don't get it. Like, oh my God. I mean, it should be simple, but let's face it. All of us took a few shots at learning this stuff. It didn't happen the first day and we get it all. We got to read it again, look at it again, hear you explain it again, read it again, see some examples. Oh, I think I see how this works. So yeah, they're not going to just, sure, fine, whatever you say. I'll just do what you want.
When COVID hit, I was hospitalized for 13 days. I had COVID pneumonia. I didn't think I was going to live. Honest to God. It was about day 5 or 6. I didn't think I was ever coming out of the hospital. I was on all kinds of machines. I was pretty bad off. I just didn't think I was going to make it. I mean, I didn't give up because I had things I needed to do or wanted to do for my wife and my children. And that's what probably pulled me through.
Yeah.
I tell you that because I had a bucket list when I got better, which took me about 4 or 5 months, which, by the way, I never got better. I found out 2 years later that I had long-term COVID that I had been dealing with for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
With some fatigueness and stuff like that. And a natural health doctor helped me with it, with vitamins. It took about 3 months, but I kicked it all, and I feel like I feel better than I did before then. But my purpose in telling you this is, my long story here is, so one of the things I wanted to do was go to New York with my kids and visit the 9/11 site. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was COVID when we did this. It was the tail end of COVID when we did this. I want to say 21 sometime. And Jesse, who's my oldest, is 33, and Emma, who is my youngest, which is 30. And then my wife has a son that's 28, because it's my second marriage. They're in the front seat talking, and I'm in the back seat. And Jesse's driving, and she is like her dad. She knows how to get along in life. Right, and we're buzzing along, probably 80, 85 miles an hour, and they're blah, 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 blah. And I'm in the back seat with my phone, my iPhone, because I'm a Mac user, and I'm typing words in that they're saying that I have no idea what they're talking about.
No way.
Swear to God. It was like they were almost speaking a foreign language. Now, they're both academias.
Huh? Jesse
is a professor and runs a whole division of a community college, and she was pregnant with my 3rd grandson, which I don't think was planned, but was expecting to go get her PhD.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say she's pretty smart.
She is.
It took me a year and a half to teach her how to do math on these deals. She could not get it. If it was not for Jesse, you guys would not know my 7 strategy where it talks about loan to value ratio and equity. Because that was me trying to explain it to Jesse, who has an extremely high IQ. But just when she looked at numbers, it looked like quicksand.
Wow.
So I tell you that whole long story because the smartest of the smartest, which I'm not bragging about my daughter, I'm just telling you she's one of the people that I know that's really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, she just went to England and sat with executives, high power executives in Oxford, England.
The university.
And they're talking about how to get America on board. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's my little girl. Right? So, but they can't talk numbers. Cause
yep, it happens. That happens, man.
So just my little diversion of today's podcast. So this drops us at the front door of sellers. Any seller's risk with will only go as far as or depends on their personal history, right?
Mm.
And that could be as simple as another investor giving them an offer 10 minutes before they spoke to you. That is completely hypothetical, completely irrelevant, completely can't be done.
Right.
For an investor.
Yeah.
Now I owned a gas station and a car dealership for 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I had auto repairs and I had all that stuff. So I came up through the drinks. And one of the things, and I never knew how to sell cars. I never got trained. I never worked for anybody. I didn't know that it was a nasty business. I just did it because I fell into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had cars for sale that people would give me, and I would sell them, and it turned into a whole thing. I had no idea, right?
Sure.
I was naive as hell. But one of the tactics that I was taught later on in life is taking somebody off of the market, right? So somebody comes in and you got we'll say a $20,000 car, and the payment has to be $600 a month mathematically,
mm-hmm.
right? And with we'll say $2,000 down, and the person comes in and says, "I'll buy the car, I'll give you $2,000 down. I only want to pay $16,000, and I only want to pay $400 a month."
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's ridiculous. So what the car dealership will do is they'll say, "Have you shopped around?" "Oh yeah, well so and so said they can do that." "Okay, well why don't you go there and do that?" Or "I saw an advertisement," or "I know I can shop it around." So what the dealership will do is say, "I'll tell you what, why don't you go shop it around, and if they can't do it, come back here and we'll do it."
Mm-hmm.
It's called taking them off the market, so that you let the seller believe you could do the deal. They're going to go get educated by everybody else.
Yeah.
Other dealers are going to say, "No way, you can't do that mathematically," and they're going to think in the back of their head, "Oh, well, this guy said he might be able to do it." And now when they come back to you, they're now educated with all the numbers, and you can sell them a car. It's not going to be for what they wanted, but they're willing to be flexible at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I tell you that because this is how you have to treat a seller that is being bullheaded about wanting $800,000 for a $600,000 house.
Sure.
Right? Lately, I have coaching clients that I tell them to waste their time. Go sign them up for an option agreement for $800,000 and put them in the market for 30 days and see what happens.
Yeah. Somebody will get educated.
Right? So that's dealing with somebody's personal history on real estate. Right? They think that they know something that they may know it, but they may not know all the details behind what got that price or what got that deal. Right?
So it includes things that aren't correct, because you think of like your history, your experience, like you've been through it and found out what's really true, and it isn't.
Right.
It's can be very opinionated.
Listen to this next sentence because it's just what you're saying.
Oh.
And now the seller only has the soft skill of comparing the money between the offers.
Soft skill.
Soft skill. What is a soft skill?
Well, it sounds like not very realistic. That's, weak.
Skill.
Weak.
Yeah. Right? So that means if you're only using money, what else do they have to compare with?
Other money.
Right. You go into an Apple store. You don't know anything about computers other than you just want a new computer. Mm-hmm. What do you compare it with? Well, they're going to help you. Well, there's this and there's that. CPUs and all these different types of things. And this gets you 18. This one gets you 35. And there's other things to compare.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You go into a car dealership and there's a specific type of Lincoln that you want, and there's no other. The only thing you have to negotiate is price, because there's no other. Nothing else that you know about to negotiate with.
Right. There's no alternatives.
Right. This is important. This is very important. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. Right? So the money offer only becomes it becomes irrelevant because you're not presenting the offer with the emphasis on the emotional relief or gain while giving your proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Every decision sellers make with money or the offer presented is justified by taking the information retained, which often isn't much, and plugs it into their unique mental vision of how they think things should go. AKA, we call that an imagination.
Sure.
Right? And unfortunately for us, and I'm not going to get off on a tangent on here, but boy, I could. The reason why America is the way America is right now is for only one reason and one reason only.
Wow, one.
Only one reason.
Really?
Hollywood invaded the country in the 50s with a thing called a television. Because when you watch television, these reality shows and all that stuff, it's not real. They are actors and actresses. They are edited. The film is edited. It is made to look like it is not. It is not the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
This is why, whether you like him or hate him, Mr. Trump, the president of the United States right now, is making a difference because he has turned the government into a transparent entity. They put the cameras on and let it roll. Look at when Zelensky was here not too long ago and they had the argument on TV.
Brutal.
That was not edited TV.
Yeah, that's brutal, but no accident. And you can see what's really happening. But what does it all mean? That's another story. How does it all play out?
Look at these shows where they came out with the rehab shows.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can make $25,000 in 28 minutes.
But your seller is watching that and believes it.
Yeah.
Right? And this misbehavior is where our frustration lies. These seller ideas we consider practically an infant's view and inexperience with application when we're talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is one of those things that is obvious. It's as obvious as it is overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do deals until you look at it. You got to confront it, right?
Sure.
So what do we do then? Right? So first, we have to realize there's only two types of deals, two types of offer delivery that we're giving right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to change that as of this podcast.
Okay.
So there's only two types of offer delivery that we do, and it makes our system of giving offers rigged against us, and sellers reject us. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're creating this rigged against us rejection.
Oh.
Those two offers, I've never clarified. I've never clarified it. Now maybe somebody else has, but I've been all over the internet. Can't find anybody that wrote a book on it.
Mm-hmm.
One is the money offer, and the other is the psychological offer.
Okay.
Right? So here's the difference. One, the money offer is sort of like a bulldozer type of proposal. Right? It's a take it or leave it thing, or my way or the highway, or do as I say or I'm no friend of yours.
Yep.
Way of communicating. It's a one-way communication without an expectancy of an answer other than yes or no.
Yep.
In other words, these offers could be given to a dead person, which we have done. We call that probate, right? Given to a dead person, and it wouldn't make a difference. It's execute my command, and that's it.
There's no or.
Right? It's just a straightforward, you're so far gone, you're so whatever, that I can help you if you just hear my offer. It's a straight money offer.
Yeah.
It's all about the property, right? This deal, this number one money offer is all about the property. It's all about the condition of the property. It's all about the location of the property. It's all about property value.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How can I increase the value of this property? You can't move it, so it usually means renovation or buy cheap. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now remember, we named this the FREP system, FREP, which stands for flipping real estate property.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mathematical formula that requires a hard yes or no. No real way to influence the vision that is making the decision, right? It's just a hard execute my command or I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
But if we use our FRED system, which is flipping real estate documents, we need to explain how this works, which now, right, what we're actually doing is swelling the seller's greed glands by interrupting their automatic thought process or their automatic thought pattern. In other words, I know I'm deep on this thing, but this is for my coaching clients, right? It's their automatic thought process. In other words, what was their experience from before? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're now telling them something they don't know about, so they can't use their history or their experience from before to evaluate with because they've never heard of this.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And making them look at other ideas they often don't know about or understand. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. My mastermind group with Perry Belcher that I'm in, called Ignite.
Yeah.
You should go check it out. He's a great guy. He just did a couple of months ago a 3-day seminar for us Ignite members, okay, which we pay thousands of dollars to be in, right? So, what is it you're doing with your fingers? Scratching your leg? I'm sorry.
You're hearing a noise?
It's very loud. It sounds
like
jeez. Well, to me it is, and maybe the listeners. But
that's real weird because I don't hear it. Okay.
Sorry about that. It's
sit still.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It sounds like you're scratching your leg or a piece of paper or something. So sorry.
I had a coffee cup in my hand.
Okay. So what Perry did is he came up with what he calls a 3-day seminar. It is called the List Laundering Framework. List Laundering Framework.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suspect that would be about?
It sounds like you making a laundry list or a long list of something to use.
Right. It was about getting contact information, email lists.
Mm-hmm.
But if he came out and said, I'm going to show you guys how to get email lists, or I have some tricks and some new tricks on getting email names on your list or growing your email list. That's been overplayed, right?
Boring.
So it has to be. He had 38 ways to get people onto your email list, and it took him 3 days to explain all 38 of them.
Jeez.
Maybe it was 36 or 38.
Close enough.
The point is that he, by changing the name to list laundering, he got people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm.
So that's what it is. Take your mic and pull it away from your collar.
So, yeah, the wire might be rubbing on it. If I'll put it down low, down here.
Yeah.
See if you still hear me okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so you understand the difference. So you need to talk to the seller with things they haven't heard in the past, even if you rename it and talk about the same old thing. You get their interest by having a new mechanism name or a new name for it, right? And if it's done correctly, it pulls on their emotional strings and gets them involved with the process.
Right. Now, how does this relate to if you're talking to something they don't know about anyways? They don't have other names for it, or they think they do?
Well, we're talking about two different types of offers, right? So one offer is just the money offer, and then the other one is creative real estate. So if you were to call somebody up and say, "Hey, I want to do a rent to own with you," oh, I don't want to be a landlord.
Right.
Instead, if you call them up and say, "Hey, listen, I specialize in getting people who normally can't buy a property into a property and get them to purchase it by helping them with the purchase." Is that different than saying rent to own?
Oh, sure. I mean, just titling something, they imagine what it is and they don't really know. So,
right.
Okay.
That's what my point is.
Thanks. That helps.
So if done correctly on their emotional strings, you get them involved with the process. Okay. So I'm dragging on here. I need to move on because I feel like I'm boring everybody. So now here's the major realization I had while studying my coaching clients giving winning offers. There is actually 3 different ways to present offers to sellers, not 2 different ways. And it falls under the attitude of the presenter. Right? So the attitude of the presenter is the core reason why deals get made or not made.
Okay.
Right? And this is in the heels of me releasing my new book, which actually shows you the 6 stages of how you would progress through the process and learn while you earn. Right? This is why I say I might have to write another book. So number 1, and you've heard some of these terms before, Peter, and I'm using them from a different subject, right?
Okay.
So we have the coffee shop offer presentation. Number 2, we then have the assist or encouraging type of presentation. And then number 3, we have the formal or professional type of offer. And I'm going to spend the rest of the podcast talking about these because it's very, very interesting. Okay? So now you may wonder what the difference is between these types of presentations. So let me give you some examples.
Sure.
First, realize that the coffee shop and assist type of proposals don't work so well because they are often open-ended and don't actually have a finality or a conclusion. This is the number 1 absolute, positive, total decision that I have made after listening to so many coaching clients give offers, is there is no conclusion. They do not leave the phone call with, let's do step 1, 2, 3, and that's how we're going to get it done. It's open-ended and no conclusion.
Good. Okay.
It leaves more questions in the seller's head than answers. And this comes down to only a few misbehaviors or violation of the FRED system, which is flipping real estate documents. Coffee shop and assist type offer presentations are usually just about money. Okay? They only address one situation. For example, seller needs to leave town for a life-changing job opportunity and has 25 days to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is money going to fix that? Right? Is money the emotional trigger that they're trying to solve?
No, not at all.
Right? Or a parent or parents die and leave the house to children, right? Lived in it for 40 plus years. So there's 40 plus years of mom and dad's stuff there. And it needs to be removed to get more money, according to the realtor. Is money the emotional trigger here?
Nope, a lot of other problems.
Right? Do you see what I'm talking about?
Sure.
So now, before I give you the final piece of this new puzzle, let me clarify a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee shop offer presentations are done in volume. You're looking to get interest or attention. It's an offer to a complete stranger that you know nothing about. This is why we send in Creative REI Reply the offers of a slot deal, because it's 35% over market value.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean they're going to do that deal. It's just the offers we're sending. Right now, when you go to Creative REI Reply, we give you leads. Well, you pay us, but we give you leads. We put them in your system, and we develop an offer. We do comps on the property, develop an offer, and send them a written offer by text. And within the next couple of weeks, we're going to actually have a virtual assistant calling those offers and making deals with them. Right? No other software is doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
This is a coffee shop type of an offer. Okay? To a certain extent. And as an assist or an encouraging type of offer presentation is done when the presenter is taking up complaints or misdirectors. The seller's using to divert the presenter, usually to evade the problem or ditch the seller. So assist type of presentation is when you're just not looking for the real cause of the motivation. You're just taking anything that they say and trying to handle it as if it was a real objection.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you're sitting across the table from somebody, right? And you're sitting there looking at them, staring at them. And they say, "Ow!" You say, "What's the matter?" "I just got shot in the forehead." And you take it up and you say, "Oh, what's happening? What do you mean you got shot in the forehead? I don't have a gun. What do you mean you got shot in the forehead? What are you talking about?" And you go off on this whole tangent about how he got shot in the forehead. Right? Instead of saying to him, "Oh, I understand. My offer is this. Are you ready to keep talking? Are you okay to do that?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it's a weird example and it's an extreme example, but you're going to realize that too many presenters are taking up questions that don't need to be taken up, and they divert the script, and they divert from the intention, and they don't get the real answers of why the person's selling, so you can actually help them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is why we have to get 5 no's and 5 yeses, because the presenter has not been fully experienced on knowing the difference between a fact or an opinion. The opinion is, I got shot in the forehead. The fact isn't that way, because facts are observable, opinions are not. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which means a real problem and a made-up one. or a real problem and a made up problem. So one is factless, no facts.
Yep.
And the other one is not. So too many presenters, right, believe these opinions and take them up like they're actually a problem that needs to be solved, and they go on this diversion. And they go off on another rail that leads them to nowhere. And then next thing you know, the rail stops, they're in the middle of nowhere, and they don't know what to do. This is an assist type of presentation because you're assisting the seller's bullshit. Mm-hmm. AKA, you're assisting the seller's beliefs and not really helping them. This is like giving a drug-addicted kid money for groceries when that kid did a good job at making you believe he needed supplies and his boss gypped him out of his pay, and you give him the money to go buy groceries, and he goes right down to the drug dealer and buys a dose of drugs. Mm-hmm. It's no different. Mm-hmm. It did not solve his or her problem, and it never ends. It's endless. Right? Both of these types of deals have no real finality. So if your deals go on and on and on and on, you're violating the presentation. They're just keeping you going and going as long as you keep pouring life into the deal. It's not the seller, it's you. Mm-hmm. You keep pouring life into the seller. You keep calling them. You keep following up with them. You keep doing all the work. And they're nice, and they pick the phone up, and they talk to you, and they do this, and they do that, but they don't do anything except string you along. You're assisting them. Mm-hmm. And their not so good beliefs. You're assisting them in their imaginary process of how this deal is going to go. Right? Does that make sense?
It does.
And then one day you get fed up and you stop breathing life into the deal and it stops, and then you never hear from the seller again. They don't call you and say, hey, what happened? Hey, I'm ready. Hey, what? They never do that. Mm-hmm. They just stop communicating because you stop. You ever have a relative like that? You ever have a friend like that? Like, I wonder if I don't call so-and-so for a week if they'll call me.
Yep. Sure.
All right, so now let's finish off the last 15 minutes, and maybe a little bit longer, on something that I feel is extraordinary. And this is my biased opinion because I wrote it, and this is the first time I've ever said it out loud. And I will tell you that I don't feel like this list is complete, but by the time I get to my book, which I probably will do, it will be complete because this will change the industry. Now, the formal or professional offer has a format and works only for this reason. And you should get paper and pencil, Peter, because you're going to want this.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So, the formal or professional offer has a format and works only for this reason. It has a crystal clear start, change, stop, sequence, or aspect to it. Mm-hmm. You know when you started it, you know when you're in the middle of it, and you know when it's going to end. And it's done systematically so you can make decisions. You're not hung up with maybes. Maybe the seller is going to do this deal with me if I just keep giving him what he wants. Here are the things you must get to complete a formal offer. And if you don't, you'll fall back into one of the other two, the assist or the coffee shop offers, and lose a deal. Or spend uncompensated time on trying to put a deal together that doesn't deserve to be put together. Because even if you did beg that person, we used to call this begging. Remember? Or giving the seller a seminar. If you're doing those things, especially on a terms deal, then you will suffer the rest of that deal. Because you coerced or the word is propitiation. Propitiation means you give people gifts to be your friend. Right? You're doing that with these coffee shop and assist type presentations. All right, so here we go. Ready?
Sure.
This is the start, change, stop cycle. I don't know if these are in order yet. I'm going to work on that, especially for my new book. But this is my first stab at it. Okay? So number one, you have to make sure you have enough time and attention from your seller so they're not distracted. Right?
Yep.
And you have them able to subjectively think about or see the vision you're trying to get the decision on. This is a Jim Camp thing. You're trying to get a vision so they can make a decision. So if you were a therapist, do you have them in a quiet room and on the couch and in session?
Yep.
Right? Because if you don't have them in that quiet atmosphere, you're not going to get a deal. Because your job is to create a vision to make a decision. So the first thing you're going to do is say, do you have time to talk about this property without being distracted? So you have to make sure that they're not running a machine at work or driving a car or whatever. You have to make sure that they're in a position to be able to do this, because it's going to be a subjective process.
Sure.
Number two, we didn't do this until a few months ago.
And this is all still part of START?
This is, I'm just giving you all of them. I didn't break them down or anything yet. I'm just giving you what you need to do to make an offer. This is the offer, the whole offer process. This is start, change, and stop.
Okay.
I haven't broken them down yet.
Yeah, the first one sounds like START, so that's
absolutely
fine. Yeah, go ahead now.
So you need to ask the seller when they wanted a written offer by. Otherwise, you may or may not be working for nothing. You know, it's February and they say, "Oh, well, we're thinking about being out by Christmas."
Yeah.
Right. So when do they want a written offer by? A written offer, not a verbal.
Yeah.
Number 3, the seller must show signs of engagement, of solving the problem. This is most noted by not giving you more problems than solutions. My nickname for this is a stop sign. Are they a stop sign that constantly stops everything? Or are they actually flexible and willing to talk about things?
Okay.
Right. So this is kind of following the script, because the script starts off with, "Do you have enough time to talk?" Yep. Right. When did you want to get a written offer by? Okay. Whose name is on the deed? Okay. What's your price? And then when we say to them, "Well, for me to give you that price, the only way I could do that is if I make you make monthly payments until I pay you off without any landlord obligations." So when you say that sentence, it's saying the seller must show signs of engagement.
Yeah.
Right? Of solving the problem. This is most noted by how many times they stop you. "No, I'm not doing that. No, I would never do that. That's crazy. Why would I do that?" Instead of, "Oh, well, how does that work? Oh, tell me what that means. I never heard of that. Explain it, please." You see the difference?
Right. So, yeah, are they working with you or fighting you?
Yeah. So it's like, it's engagement in their mind. Number 4, and I can't believe I got to put this in my system, but I'm ashamed to say that probably 7 or 8 times out of 10, I don't get this answer when I talk to a coaching client. What's the price? They have to have a price. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Right?
Really?
I get a lot of people that don't know what the price is. So you have to have a price.
Wow. I mean, I hear that occasionally, but to me, it's rare, actually.
Yeah.
I find that very annoying.
Yeah. And it could just be the price that they listed it for on Zillow.
Yeah.
But is that really their price? Number 5.
No, you should ask.
Yeah. Number 5. Be flexible on comparing a terms deal or monthly payment until paid off against a cash offer. So you can't just say, oh, you want all cash. So it has to be, if you take all cash, it's $270 on a $300,000 house. Or if you do a terms deal, meaning a slut deal or a sandwich lease option transfer for 3 years, it's $394.
Oh, yeah.
So there's $130,000 difference. So you have to always have the comparable numbers. You don't accept one number without talking about the other number. There's always an opposite number. So remember what I told you. There's money deals. Number 1, the 2 types of offer is this is my offer mathematically. And then there's the psychological deal.
Right.
The psychological deal is more along the terms deal, which is allowing them to get more out of the property.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Number 6, you must know why the seller is going through the pain of selling. What about this house is ruining them or causing devastation? Or if they want money from this house's equity, what other ruin or devastation are they trying to solve with that money? So this is not like, oh, I'm going to put my kitchen table on the front lawn and mark $10 on it and somebody's going to come by and buy it. It's not that simple. Selling a house is a process. You have to probably do some sort of fix-up. You have to take pictures. You have to put it online. You have to hire a realtor. People trip through your house. There's offers. There's this. There's that. Every process that I have seen takes months. Right? Even when we purchase, we could do it in a week, but we still go through 3, 4, 5 weeks selling a house often.
Sure.
I mean, not every time, but often. Depends on the deal, right? So why would someone inflict that pain on themselves? What is more painful to them or more pressing on them or more of an issue for them than going through this labor?
Mm-hmm.
You have to know that. If you don't know that, you don't have a deal. Which, by the way, the realtor system says in their code of ethics, do not release the motivation of your client, whether it's seller or buyer.
That's right.
Which is the opposite of what we do.
I'm not supposed to ask.
Number 7, you're very clear what they need and want. Either by discovery in step number 5, which is be flexible on comparing the terms of the deal, like monthly payments compared to cash, or by asking what would have to happen for me to buy your house today. So if you're new and you don't know how to do some of the stuff we're talking about and you can't do the discovery to find out what the pain is, then you just, at any given point in the conversation, just say, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And let them tell you.
Yep.
Number 8, you have asked the seller, if I don't do a deal with you today, what will you do? This has to be in every offer. If it's not there, then you don't have the right offer. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have to ask. Number 8 is ask the seller, if I don't do a deal with you today, what will you do? So whatever you missed if you got the wrong ruin or the wrong devastation or the wrong problem or situation, it will show up here. Number 9, once they answer question number 7, which is what would have to happen if I didn't buy your house today? I'm sorry, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And then you ask, that's actually question number 8, if I didn't do that today, what would happen? Then number 9 is once they answer question number 8, you ask, how do you think your decision will affect those around you, like your family and your close friends? You have to ask this. So the sequence is, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And you say, well, okay, and you talk about that, and they're still not bending. You have to say to them, okay, so if I don't do what you want me to do, what are you going to do? How are you going to sell the house? And then once they say, oh, I'm going to buy purple frogs to sell the house, you have to say to them, okay, well, how is that going to affect you and those around you by making that decision? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
You have to do this in every deal.
I've heard you say all of these. I've heard you say all this at one point or the other, but never like you have to go through all of it, because it seems like you're going through it and you got it. But of course you don't got it because you didn't get it. And you feel stupid because I thought I had it. He said yes, or yes. And he said, seemed interested. But obviously, I'm not buying every house I talk to. I don't expect to buy everyone, but should be buying more. So it's interesting to have them like all there to get that psychology to really know what's happening. Because you two things. You say all sellers are liars, meaning they don't really know what's going on, and they don't understand their own problem half the time and the solutions. So we have to be all that much smarter to help them sort this out.
Yep. Number 10. That's correct, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You only talked about one offer at a time.
Yeah.
Without giving a seminar or confuse the seller with their possible choices. So you could say, choice number 1, slot deal. Choice number 2, owner finance. Choice number 3, I give you this much cash. Mm. But they're very clear, and you only talk about each one when you're describing them.
Yeah.
You cannot mix the formulas. This is like making a chocolate cake, right? And putting applesauce in there. You're not making an apple cake, you're making a chocolate cake. Right? So you're going to talk about the ingredients of the chocolate cake, only about the chocolate cake, how to make the chocolate cake, and then when they say, I don't want chocolate cake, okay, well, I have another idea. And now you talk about the apple cake. Or the apple pie. Let's put it that way, the apple pie. And then you talk about what you need and how it works and how you put the ingredients together. And then they say, I don't want an apple pie. I don't like that one either. Okay. Well, Mets, and you see what I'm saying?
Well, at that point, you got to go with cheesecake. You got to try that.
Okay, cheesecake. Okay, good.
No, at the third one. You said there's a third one. So that's right. I just go there, see if that works. Okay. But that makes sense, because even if you're comparing, like, you want to know if they need the house sold now because there's a thing the house has got to go for some reason, or they can wait and make the more money. You got to make that determination. But then you don't just keep going back and forth. You pick the one that looks like it's going to work, and you drill it down tight. If no, then you can go on to the other thing. So you're still comparing, but you're doing one at a time then.
So I'm going to move on to number 11 and come back to what you just said.
Okay.
So number 11 is you got to get 5 no's and 5 yeses during the conversation so you're crystal clear and know what the seller wants. So getting no's is your roadmap of their vision so they can make a decision. Mm-hmm. Now let's go back to number 10, which is talking about one offer at a time So when they say no, I don't want to make a chocolate cake, you say to them, okay, what part of that chocolate cake do you not like?
So is this another step, or is this part of that step?
Well, it's part of that step, but I'm going to write it down as another step.
Oh, yeah. So anytime, you could put it this way, then anytime somebody doesn't like something, you want to find exactly what part of it, because it may not be the whole thing. It's just some part. Right. So you're trying to get the detail of exactly what it is.
Right.
What do you mean?
It's between 10 and 11. So here's my offer. I'm going to give you this offer. And you give them all the ingredients of the chocolate cake and how you're going to make the chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Right? And they say no. So you're looking for 5 no's. So you might you might adjust the offer 2 or 3 times and get 2 or 3 no's. And at some point you have to say to them, what part don't you like? Because otherwise you're guessing. Yeah. You need to, the part that I don't like is I want $20,000 down and you're only offering me $5,000 down.
Okay.
Okay, now listen, this is important. You have to, at that point, which is another point, you have to say, if I give you the $20,000 down, will you do the deal?
Right. Yeah, whatever they complain about.
Right. Make sense?
It does. I've been working with somebody. Every time I talk to her, I find out one more thing, that she has a problem that you don't find out the first conversation. It's almost like they either don't know what the problems are or they don't want to think about them. So it's like you have to find out the entire, what do you like? What are all the things you like about this? What are all the things you don't like about this? To get it all in front of you. Otherwise, there's something dangling. I can't move because I'm using the address of that house for my kids to go to school in that neighborhood. Like, you could have told me that the first time, but they don't want it. But they're covering something up.
That's right. So that's why you have to ask them, why are you selling this house? Mm-hmm. And you did it the best. You did it a long time ago when we used to do the podcast here in my office. Mm-hmm. You said, when did you decide to sell this property? Oh, on June 3rd. Okay, scan back in your mind and tell me what happened just before June 3rd to make you decide that you wanted to sell this house. And that was the best ever. Because that was the decision process.
It was a point. But there could be a number of things that complicate it. And you think you have like the answer, but then there's some other piece of it but my kids don't want this, or my husband don't, all these little pieces. So I'm just saying, you'd have to find out all the things. Like, is there anything else you don't like about it? Is there anything else? Unless they say they'll do the deal, of course. But I'd want to know all of that, because I don't want something coming back later and botching it, because there's more than one answer, right? Not just... Right. Okay.
So that's why when they tell it to you, you always have to ask back. So you're telling me the reason why you're selling the house is because the address of whatever.
Sure.
You need to give it back, and they're going to say, well, yes or no. Well, you're selling the house because you got a job and you got to move in 25 days. Yes. Mm-hmm. Or you're selling the house because you got to move in 25 days because you got a new job. Well, no, not really. Okay, so what is it? Well, my wife can stay here and I can move, but really I don't want to be separated from my wife until she sells the house.
Yeah, there's always kind of more or something else. And I'm just thinking to myself, just to ask everything, just to get it all out, so you don't have to have 5 conversations.
Right.
And
so the last one, which is number 12, is you decide this is a deal you want or don't want. And this is the biggest problem I have to teach. You need to make a decision. I want this deal. I don't want this deal. And you need to leave the conversation with you telling the seller this and what the exact steps are, so there's no surprise and you could test their trust. Because if you're coming back, you need to give them things to do, because trust means your words match your actions. So you need to leave the call with finite answers. This deal is not for me. But you know what? I'm going to go check it out, and if something changes, I'll call you back. And because rookies feel like they're not a professional, and because rookies feel like they're missing something because they're trying to do the mathematical offer and not paying attention to the emotional or psychological offer, they think they're missing something. So here's how I'm going to leave you today with the podcast. If you have a seller that is willing to do a deal with you and their motivation is correct, they're saying yes more than they're saying no, then you go do research on trying to figure out the math. If the seller is saying no more than yes, then you terminate the deal. And that will be the hardest for anybody to learn, but that will make the difference on how many deals you make. Because I'd rather have you, Peter, have no deals than make-believe deals. Like you have a few of those right now, right? You have a few of them where you're trying to get the guy or some people involved. And they shouldn't just be deals. I gave up on them. I was like, yeah, screw him. We're not doing anything. And I walked away. You're still trying to get the deals alive. That's just a scarcity mentality. That's all it is. And not so much by you, but just by getting deals. Because that just shows neediness. Right? So by the time you get off the call, you have to say, and you just, in the beginning, it could be your first phone call. Because remember, you need to do this. This is all on the premise of you need to make 100 phone calls. Remember that? The board on the wall, which was an earlier podcast, 2 or 3 podcasts ago? Yeah. It's all on you learning how to do this. It's going to take you 100 conversations. Maybe not. If you're bright, maybe less than that. But plan on spending some time on this while you're making money. Because you will stumble across somebody that will say yes, 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 yes. Okay. I'm going to refine this list and I'm going to work on it. And I'm going to probably, I say it now, it might change. But I think this is so important that there needs to be a standard check on it, a standard way of doing it so people can think with it. And I'm going to work on that. Sure. So I can help my coaching clients. So hopefully you stayed with us through the whole podcast and didn't get bored or thought it was too profound or didn't pertain to you or God knows what. But this is where money is made. This is where all the money is made, is in a podcast like this. If you do these things I was just talking about, or don't do these things, this is the difference between making deals and not making deals. Do you agree, Peter?
Absolutely. That's why I'm listening so closely.
Good. All right. So make sure you like us or subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Thank you for your participation and your attention. Make sure you go to Creative Real Estate Newsletter Dealology /subscribe and get our newsletter so you can get it comes out every Saturday morning. Also, if you have any questions, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com and you can get your questions answered there. If you have a topic or subject that you'd like to hear about, send me an email because I'm very happy to consider that. I'm here for you guys, not for me. Okay? Again, thanks for all the support. Subscribe to us, like us, and have a good week and flourish and prosper. We'll talk to you on episode number 454.
This has been Flipping Houses for Rookies. The American Dream. What is it? It's called financial freedom, and with real estate, you'll have it. Without the banks, without the bigwigs, and without the realtors' nonsense. Bill and Pete are 2 real estate investors with 30 years plus of experience, hundreds of deals under their belts, and a mission to change the way you think about creative real estate. Do be sure to like, rate, and review the show. And after that, hit up our YouTube channel at Flipping Houses for Rookies /streams. We'll be back soon and see you then on Flipping Houses for Rookies.